All right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about DigiHost Technologies, stock ticker DGHI. They are a Bitcoin mining company. I want to go through, they just gave their June operational update. So I want to go through that, and DigiHost has what I consider to be an extremely confusing story. So I'm going to try and put some of the pieces of the puzzle together. And I also want to talk about their ability to potentially survive a crypto winter. And if they do survive, where do they go from here? Because their story is very confusing to me. So let's start out by looking at where they sit right now. DigiHost closed yesterday at $1.05. So they did go under $1 for the first time yesterday. Now this stock did a reverse stock split, a 3-to-1 reverse stock split about 8 months ago because they were under $1 back then. So they had popped up above $1. They did a 3-to-1 reverse stock split and got back up near $4 or $5. They actually ran up to about $8 at one point after that. And now here they are all the way back down to $1. So this has been a wild ride, and here they are sitting again at the precipice of potentially having to do another reverse stock split. Now I don't know that that is the case, and I want to look through this operational update as well as what else is going on, because there is some good news in here and there's some tough news in here. So I'm just going to try to go through it as objectively as I can. So you'll see right now this has a market cap of $29 million. So at its peak back in November, this was well north of $100 million. I think it was over $120 million. But this was always one of the smaller Bitcoin mining companies. So they're an established company. They are listed on the Toronto Exchange. They were over the counter in the United States. They got themselves listed on the NASDAQ. So they did take a lot of proactive steps. It seemed like a lot of good things were happening, a lot of relationships that they were putting together. And unfortunately, a lot of that has unraveled. So we're going to see if they can hold this $1.05. Now, to be fair, they are down about 92% off of their highs from November, but so is almost every single other Bitcoin mining company that's publicly traded on the NASDAQ. So let's get to the operational report and we'll see what's going on. Okay, DigiHost announces year over year 129% increase in quarterly Bitcoin production and provides operations update. So this was July 5th, this was yesterday. DigiHost Technologies mining company is pleased to provide unaudited comparative BTC production results for the month and quarter ended June 30th, 2022, combined with an operations update. Mined 72.18 Bitcoin, resulting in a total holdings of 293 Bitcoin at the end of June, valued at approximately $5.8 million based on a Bitcoin price of $19,785. They have Ethereum holdings of about 1,000 Ethereum, so that's about another $1 million. So they summarize this and say total digital asset inventory value consists of Bitcoin and ETH of approximately $6.87 million as of June 30th. In addition, the company held cash of approximately $5 million. So they go on to say that as of June 30th, 2022, liquid assets were approximately $12.4 million. They have access to about $12.4 million, and that is even at these low valuations of Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. So theoretically, that could get better. Obviously, it could also get worse. Okay, so on the other side of this $12.4 million in liquidity, the next bullet point basically amounts into saying the company currently has no debt. So they are in a decent place. They had a $10 million line of debt. They paid that off. They were in a much better position than this over the last 6 months. This is just about as low as their liquidity has gotten. However, their overhead is very, very low. So I do think that, if they just based on last year's financial statements, this would really be, from an operations standpoint, really several years of cash runway if they were to just use this for operations. However, the problem is they are a growing company. We're in the Bitcoin mining space. They just bought some land where they're going to create a new facility, and, all of that's going to take some money as well. So then they say to avoid dilution for its shareholders, management sold a portion of its Bitcoin production during the month to fund its energy costs. So I would expect they would continue to sell their Bitcoin as needed to fund costs. Okay, then let's get to the operational update side of this. DigiHost is pleased to announce that the planning is well underway for the company's new Alabama site, with mining operations projected to commence in Q4 of 2022. Based upon power rates currently being negotiated by management with Alabama Power, DigiHost projects its operational break-even point will occur at Bitcoin price of approximately $12,000. So that's significantly less than they are at right now. Right now, their Bitcoin mining break-even price, so just their gross profit, has a break-even price at $12,000. So now they're saying their operational break-even price is going to be $12,000. So that will leave them in a better position. Okay, then they say, although DigiHost's operations are currently located in Buffalo and North Tonawanda, the company does not intend to open any new mining facilities in New York State. Due to recent material rise in energy costs in the New York State, the company anticipates curtailing operations during peak peak hours at current Bitcoin prices. So at the current Bitcoin prices, they're going to do some curtailment on their own just based on the cost of energy right now in New York. Okay, then they say in the current inflationary environment, management has introduced additional internal control measures to ensure adherence to its aggressive cost control program. Zero-based budgeting has been implemented on a line-by-line basis regardless of the expense category. This cost control program has already resulted in material savings. So you can see they are trying to reduce their overhead. Now, if you look at last year's financial statements, their overhead is already fairly low. It's between $2 or $3 million if you add everything up that relates to cash. So this would be on a cash basis. And they're saying here they're taking a deep look at every single line item and trying to reduce that and keep it as low as they possibly can. So that is obviously important because right now Bitcoin is at a low price. You know, there's a lot of speculation. Are we on the rebound right now? Are we going to lower places? There's an awful lot of talk about crypto winter, about an 85% potential pullback in Bitcoin and we're only just a little over 70% right now. So that would mean Bitcoin 10,350. I'm not predicting that. That's not what I believe is going to happen. But, you know, we spent several days under 20,000. We popped over it yesterday. So we could certainly test points lower than this. So this is a big stress on not only DigiHost, but all of the Bitcoin mining companies. So I think they're taking all their due diligence, it seems, to reduce their costs and stay lean at this time. The company is currently hashing at a rate of approximately 650 petahash per second. So this is as of July 5th, 2022. I'm going to revisit a little bit of history because this is where things get complicated in my opinion. I still am left with a lot of big questions. So I'm just going to talk about a few of those. Okay, I'm going to go way back in time here. This is about 7 or 8 months ago. October 28th, 2021. DigiHost announces over 6,000 M30 Bitcoin miners received or in transit since mid-October. So you'll see down here under About DigiHost. Remember right now in the most recent one on July 5th, they said about DigiHost, they have 650 petahash. Well, here they're saying the company is currently hashing at a rate of 300 petahash. So that was less than half what they're doing right now. However, they then go on to say with plans to expand to a hash rate of 3.6 exahash by the end of 2022. And those were not generic plans of that's what they hoped to do. They had basically set up the relationships to do that. Now, a lot of that was going to be revenue sharing with some other companies. And I'm going to go to one of those right now because there's a press release that a company BitDigital, they are also a Bitcoin mining company. This was in BitDigital's press release. DigiHost has advised us that it is unable to proceed with a previously identified new site in upstate New York that was expected to deliver DigiHost's remaining hosting commitment to us. DigiHost is currently exploring potential alternative sites for the remaining 100 megawatts of contracted hosting capacity pursuant to our agreements, delivery date to be determined. So BitDigital bought 10,000 Bitcoin mining machines and a significant number of those they were going to host with DigiHost and have some type of revenue sharing. So that's all in jeopardy right now. A lot of what has gone on, and again, the details to me are sketchy. I don't see them in DigiHost press releases specifically addressed, but it looks to me like the state of New York, and we all know that New York has implemented a bunch of new regulations. It looks to me like the company that's been affected the most by this may be DigiHost. I think that they have buildings and infrastructure that they planned, that they were waiting for some final approvals on, and I think those did not come through, and as a result, a lot of the relationships they set up and that 3.6 exahash that they were expecting to get to, as it stands right now, they're not going to get anywhere near that. So you'll see on April 4th, it says DigiHost achieves milestone of 1 exahash in hash rate and announces Bitcoin dividend policy. So in April, they were at 1 exahash. Now, later in this press release, they say the company is under contract and is waiting for final Public Service Commission approval to complete this acquisition. So I don't know. I don't see any subsequent press release explaining this, but it would appear to me that this did not happen because they then had to dial their hash rate back from 1 exahash to 0.65 exahash, and it looks like they're going to do curtailments to dial it back even further from there. In addition to that, they now are moving to Alabama. So they've subsequently announced this purchase in Alabama that we talked about. I don't know if they still have these 9,900 machines and they're in storage or if they sold them and this is why I feel like after this press release, I have just as many questions as I do answers. So it looks to me like they had had to undo some of what was already done because they were already over 1 exahash, and now they're at 0.65 exahash. Subsequent to that, they bought land in Atlanta. They also moved their headquarters to Texas. I think they're going to minimize the amount of what they can do in New York because, unfortunately, it would appear, based on the laws that have been passed there and the reaction from the entire Bitcoin mining universe, that New York at the moment is not very Bitcoin mining friendly. And again, it looks like, although I can't find exactly to what extent, it looks to me like DigiHost's operations were affected massively by this. So again, this is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence. I'm telling you right now, there are holes in the information that I'm finding. So, before you make any buying decisions, you might want to do your own due diligence and fill in the gaps. But to me, this has left me a bit confused on where they stand and where they go from here. So lastly, I want to show you, okay, DigiHost, this was on March 4th, 2022. DigiHost establishes a $250 million at-the-market equity program to accelerate growth. This was a moment in time that absolutely baffled me. They were approximately a $50 million company at this point, and they're doing an at-the-market offering of $250 million. That's 5 times what the entire company is worth. So I've never seen anything like that before. I'm not saying it's never happened. I've never seen anything like it. Dilutions are usually 10%, 20%, 30%, whatever the case may be. This is a 400% dilution if they were to use this entire thing. Now, subsequent to that, we found out that they have not used any of this at all. In addition to not using any of that, they have announced a $1.22 million share buyback program. While they did a $250 million at-the-market offering, they are now doing a share buyback program. But I will tell you, there's an important sentence in this. On March 4th, 2022, the company entered into an offering with H.C. Wainwright, pursuant to which the company establishes an at-the-market equity program. From the commencement of the at-the-market equity program through to the date hereof, the company has not issued any securities pursuant to the ATM program. So they have not used that at all. Further, the company will not issue any securities pursuant to the ATM program during the period from the commencement of this bid, which is their buyback bid, on May 25th, 2022, until the bid is terminated. So that does answer one big question. I'm not sure that they bought any of these shares back. I hope they don't, because they have $12.7 million in liquidity, and I would hate to see them buying stock with that. Okay, so we'll take a very quick look at the chart, and you'll see they're trading at $1.05. So they were down to 90 cents today. This was their all-time low. And you can see since their peak in November, which was at around $8, they're now down to $1. So that's a significant pullback. Now, November was not their all-time high. Adjusted for the reverse stock split, they got to almost $15 last February. But just if we go from November till now, they're down 86.6%. So again, that is actually not really out of line with all the other Bitcoin miners. So I'm not telling you to buy this stock. I'm not telling you to sell this stock. This is not financial advice. What I will tell you is there's a lot going on here, so I would do your own due diligence and try and figure out what's what. I've tried to put some of the pieces of the puzzle together. And so if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel and smash the like button, and I will see you in the next video.